What if everything you've been taught about making a woman fall in love is wrong? I'm talking dead wrong. Like catastrophically, embarrassingly, completely backwards wrong. You've been told it's about effort, compliments, gifts, charm, show up with flowers, tell her she's beautiful, wine and dine her, be the perfect gentleman, right? That's what your dad told you. That's what the movies showed you. That's what society programmed into your brain since you were 12 years old. But here's the brutal truth nobody wants to tell you. Women don't fall for what you do. They fall for how you make them feel. And most of the time, they don't even realize it themselves. Think about it. How many times have you seen a woman choose the guy who treats her worse over the guy who worships the ground she walks on? How many times have you watched in confusion as she picks the man who seems to care less? You've seen it. We've all seen it. And it drives logical men absolutely insane. Because you're operating under a fundamental misunderstanding of how attraction actually works. Listen, I've spent years studying this. Not just reading books or watching videos, but actually observing, testing, and understanding the deep psychological mechanisms that govern human attraction. And what I discovered will completely flip your understanding upside down. Attraction isn't logical. It's not a math equation where effort plus compliments equals love. It's not a transaction where you deposit nice gestures and withdraw affection. A woman's attachment is subconscious. It's emotional. And it builds slowly, like a fire that starts with the right kind of spark and grows into something that can't be extinguished. The secret? She doesn't connect with what you say or what you do. She connects with the energy you bring, the presence you embody, the feeling she gets when she's around you. And that energy, that presence, that feeling, it has nothing to do with how hard you try and everything to do with who you are when you're not trying at all. So if you're ready to learn how women actually fall in love, if you're ready to understand the real psychology behind attraction, if you're ready to stop playing by rules that don't work and start operating from a place of authentic power, then buckle up. Because what I'm about to share with you is going to change everything. Let's start with the foundation. The emotional bedrock that real connection is built on. When a woman withdraws, when she goes quiet, when she seems distant or moody or just off, what's your first instinct? Be honest. Your first instinct is to chase, to fix, to ask what's wrong, to try harder, to do more. And that's exactly when you lose her. Because in that moment, she's not looking for you to fix anything. She's observing your reaction. She's watching to see what kind of man you really are when the pressure is on, when things aren't perfect, when she's not giving you the validation you crave. The man who panics, who chases, who needs to know what's wrong right now, he fails the test before he even knows he's taking it. But the man who stays centered, the man who can breathe in that space of uncertainty without losing his mind, that man says more with his silence than 1,000 words ever could. Your stillness whispers something profound to her subconscious. You're safe here. Your moods don't control me. Your energy doesn't destabilize me. I am the calm in your storm. And that gentleman is attractive on a level that bypasses her logical mind entirely. I know what you're thinking, but shouldn't I care? Shouldn't I want to help? Of course you should care. But there's a massive difference between caring and panic, between wanting to support and needing to fix. When you can hold space for her emotions without being consumed by them, when you can be present without being reactive, when you can offer your strength without losing your center, that's when she starts to see you as something different, something rare, something she doesn't want to lose. Most men think emotional moments are problems to solve, tests to pass, crises to resolve. They rush in with solutions, with reassurances, with desperate attempts to make everything okay again. But here's what they don't understand. Emotional moments aren't tests to fix. They're storms to weather. She doesn't need you to stop the rain. She needs you to be the shelter she can run to when it's pouring. Think about the last time you were in a really difficult emotional state. What did you need? Did you need someone to lecture you about why you shouldn't feel that way? Did you need someone to bombard you with solutions you weren't ready to hear? Or did you need someone to just be there, to listen, to hold space for your experience without trying to change it? Women are no different. When she's going through something, when she's processing emotions, when she's in that messy, complicated space that all humans find themselves in sometimes, she doesn't need your analysis. She needs your presence. The man who can sit in that discomfort without needing to escape it, without needing to fix it, without needing to make it about him, that man becomes her emotional anchor. That man becomes safe. And safety, real emotional safety, is the foundation of every deep connection. But here's where most men go wrong. They think being emotionally available means being emotionally reactive. They think showing they care means absorbing her emotional state and making it their own. That's not emotional availability. That's emotional chaos. Real emotional availability is being fully present without being destabilized. It's caring without panicking. It's offering support without losing yourself in her storm. When you master this, when you become the kind of man who can hold space for any emotion without being consumed by it, something magical happens. She starts to trust you with parts of herself she's never shared with anyone else. And that trust, that's where real love begins. Now let's talk about boundaries. This is where I see men make some of their biggest mistakes. You've been told that love means giving everything, sacrifice, putting her needs before your own, being available whenever she needs you, however she needs you, for whatever she needs you for. That sounds romantic, doesn't it? It sounds noble. It sounds like what a good man should do. It's also the fastest way to kill attraction. When you have no boundaries, when you're available for anything at any time, when you consistently put her needs above your own well-being, you're not showing love. You're showing desperation. And desperation is the opposite of attractive. Here's what happens when you have no boundaries. You become predictable, safe in the worst possible way, taken for granted. She knows that no matter how she treats you, no matter what she asks of you, no matter how little she gives back, you'll always be there, and something that's always available has no value. But when you protect your energy, when you have standards for how you're treated, when you don't overextend yourself for validation, something different happens. She feels your self-worth. She senses that your attention, your time, your energy, these things have value because you value them. That restraint is powerful. It communicates something deep. My peace isn't up for negotiation. My well-being matters. I choose to be here, but I don't need to be here. And that choice, that voluntary presence rather than desperate clinging, makes all the difference. I'm not talking about being cold or distant or playing games. I'm talking about having enough respect for yourself that you don't lose yourself in the pursuit of someone else's approval. When you have boundaries, when you protect your energy, when you make choices based on what's right for you, rather than what might make her like you more, you become something rare in her world, a man who values himself. And a man who values himself is a man worth valuing. Most women are surrounded by men who would do anything for their attention. Men who say yes to everything. Men who have no backbone, no standards, no sense of their own worth. Men who are so desperate to be chosen that they've forgotten they have the right to choose too. You want to stand out? Don't be one of those men. Be the man who cares deeply but doesn't need desperately. Be the man who offers love but doesn't bargain for it. Be the man who chooses to be present but isn't afraid to walk away if he's not treated with respect. That's attractive. That's magnetic. That's the kind of energy that makes a woman think, I don't want to lose this one. Now let's dive deeper into how real attraction actually grows. Because what I'm about to tell you might surprise you. You think she falls for your best self. Your most polished, most impressive, most put-together version. The you that has all the right answers, never makes mistakes, and always knows what to do. That's not the you she falls in love with. She isn't drawn to men who worship her best self either. She's not looking for someone who puts her on a pedestal and treats her like she can do no wrong. She's not seeking someone who only loves the pretty, easy, socially acceptable parts of who she is. She attaches to the man who can welcome her mess, her doubts, her moods, her imperfections, her humanity, without judgment, without trying to fix it, without making her feel like she needs to be different to be worthy of love. Think about this. When do you feel most connected to someone? Is it when they're impressed by your achievements, or when they accept your struggles? Is it when they praise your strengths, or when they don't run away from your weaknesses? Real connection happens in the vulnerable spaces. In the moments when the mask comes off and you're just human, flawed, complicated, messy, real human, the man who can be present for all of that, who can see a woman's full humanity and not flinch, who can hold space for her imperfections without needing to change them, that man becomes irreplaceable. Because here's the thing, everyone wants to be loved for who they really are, not for who they pretend to be. But most people are so afraid of being seen fully that they never give anyone the chance to love them authentically. When you become the safe space where she can be completely herself, when you become the person she doesn't have to perform for, when you become the relationship where she can drop the act and just be, you become something incredibly rare in her life. You become home. And once a woman feels at home with you, once she trusts you with her real self, once she knows she can be imperfect in your presence without losing your love, that's when real attachment forms. Not to your looks, not to your money, not to what you can do for her, but to how she feels when she's with you, to the version of herself she gets to be in your presence, to the peace she finds in your acceptance. That's the kind of love that lasts. That's the kind of connection that grows stronger over time instead of fading. That's the kind of bond that can't be broken by the next guy who comes along with more money, or better looks, or smoother words, because you're not competing on the surface level anymore. You're connected at the soul level, and that's irreplaceable. But here's where most men get confused about leadership and masculine energy. They think being masculine means being dominant, controlling, always having the final say, making decisions for her, taking charge in ways that override her autonomy. That's not masculine energy. That's insecurity disguised as strength. True masculine energy isn't about dominance. It's about presence. It's about knowing who you are and moving through the world with that quiet confidence. It's about having a direction and inviting her to join you on the journey, not dragging her along against her will. Real masculine energy is quiet. It's intentional. It's guidance without force. It's leadership through example, not command. When you embody this kind of energy, something beautiful happens. She doesn't feel controlled or manipulated or pressured. She feels led, guided, like she's with someone who knows where he's going and has the strength to get there. That's attractive because it's rare. Most men either try to control everything, which feels suffocating, or they have no direction at all, which feels unstable. But the man who has his own path and invites her to walk it with him, that man offers something special. He offers partnership without possession, leadership without domination, strength without aggression. She relaxes not because you take control of her life, but because you have control of your own. She feels safe not because you make all her decisions, but because you make your decisions with confidence and clarity. When a woman is with a man who moves with purpose, who has direction, who knows what he wants and goes after it, she gets to relax into her feminine energy. She gets to be soft because he's solid. She gets to flow because he's grounded. And that dynamic, that dance between masculine and feminine energy, creates a kind of attraction that goes beyond the physical or even the emotional. It creates a spiritual connection, a sense of wholeness, a feeling of being exactly where you're supposed to be. But this only works when your leadership comes from love, not ego. When your direction comes from purpose, not control. When your strength is used to protect and provide, not to dominate and possess. The moment your masculine energy becomes about power over her instead of power with her, you lose the magic. You become just another man trying to control her instead of the man she chooses to follow. Here's something that might blow your mind. Real intimacy doesn't come from deep conversations. It doesn't come from sharing your feelings or asking about hers. It doesn't come from pushing for emotional connection or trying to force vulnerable moments. Real intimacy comes from patience, from being the kind of man who can be fully present without needing anything in return, from listening without needing to be listened to, from being interested in her world without making everything about yours. Most men approach intimacy like it's a negotiation. I'll share something deep, so you should share something deep. I opened up to you, so now you owe me the same. I want to connect, so we need to have a meaningful conversation right now. That's not intimacy, that's transaction. Real intimacy is giving her the space to unfold naturally. It's being curious about who she is without trying to change her. It's caring about her inner world without needing to fix or improve it. When you can sit with someone without needing them to be different, when you can listen to them without needing to respond, when you can be interested in their experience without making it about yours, that's when real connection happens. And here's the beautiful thing. When you stop pushing for intimacy, when you stop trying to force deep connection, when you simply show up as a man who's genuinely interested in who she is, intimacy starts to happen naturally. She begins to share more because you're not demanding it. She opens up because you've created space for it. She becomes vulnerable because you've proven you can handle her vulnerability without becoming weird about it. The man who can receive a woman's stories, her thoughts, her dreams, her fears, without needing to fix them or judge them or make them about him, that man becomes trusted. And trust is the gateway to everything deeper. But this requires something most men struggle with. Being comfortable with yourself. Being okay with silence. Being content with your own company so you don't need her constant validation or attention to feel whole. When you're genuinely interested in her for who she is, not for what she can do for your ego, she feels it. When you can be present with her without needing her to fill some void in your life, she senses it. When you can listen to her world without immediately trying to relate it to yours, she appreciates it. And that appreciation grows into something much deeper over time. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake men make when trying to attract women. Trying too hard. You think attraction is about addition, adding more effort, more compliments, more attention, more everything. You think the formula is more input equals more attraction. But here's the counterintuitive truth. The less you need her, the more she's pulled toward your world. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. This isn't about pretending not to care when you do. This is about building a life that's so fulfilling, so purposeful, so engaging that you genuinely don't need anyone else to complete it. When you have that kind of life, when you're genuinely excited about your own path, when you have passions and goals and interests that light you up from the inside, something magnetic happens. You become someone worth joining rather than someone who needs joining. She doesn't want to be your whole world. She wants to be part of a world that's already amazing. She doesn't want to complete you. She wants to complement a man who's already complete. Think about it. What's more attractive, someone who needs you to feel whole, or someone who chooses you because you add value to an already great life? When your happiness depends on her, when your mood is determined by her attention, when your self-worth is tied to her approval, you become a burden. You become work. You become something she has to manage rather than something she gets to enjoy. But when you have your own mission, your own passions, your own reasons for getting up in the morning, you become someone she wants to witness, someone she wants to learn from, someone whose life she wants to be part of. The man who's already in motion, who's building something meaningful, who's excited about his own journey, that man is attractive because he offers something rare, a life worth living. And here's the beautiful irony. The moment you stop needing her to make your life complete, she starts wanting to be part of what you're building. The moment you stop chasing her attention, she starts seeking yours. The moment you become whole on your own, she starts wanting to be part of that wholeness. This is why the most attractive men often seem like they don't need anyone. Not because they're cold or distant, but because they're so engaged with their own lives that they're not desperate for external validation. They care, but they don't need. They love, but they don't cling. They choose to be with someone, but they don't have to be with someone. And that choice, that freedom, that sense of wholeness, independent of any relationship, that's incredibly attractive. Because everyone wants to be chosen, not needed. Everyone wants to be wanted for who they are, not required for what they can provide. Everyone wants to be part of something beautiful, not responsible for making something beautiful happen. When you build a life that's already beautiful, when you become a man who's already whole, when you create a world that's already worth living in, you don't attract women who want to fix you or complete you or save you. You attract women who want to join you. Now let's talk about emotional gravity versus emotional availability. This is a distinction that will change how you think about attraction forever. Most men think they need to be emotionally available, open, vulnerable, ready to share their feelings at any moment, always accessible for deep conversations and meaningful connections. And while emotional health is important, there's something much more powerful than emotional availability: emotional gravity. Emotional gravity is that unshakable center I mentioned earlier. It's being so grounded in who you are that other people naturally gravitate toward your energy. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about being composed, stable, reliable in your own emotional state. Think about the most magnetic people you know. Are they the ones who are always sharing their feelings? Or the ones who seem to have their emotional world handled? Are they the ones who need constant reassurance? Or the ones who offer it naturally? The man with emotional gravity doesn't chase emotional connection. He doesn't need to process every feeling or analyze every interaction. He doesn't require constant validation or reassurance from others to feel okay about himself. Instead, he becomes the emotional anchor that others are drawn to. He becomes the calm that others seek when their world feels chaotic. He becomes the steady presence that others can count on when everything else feels uncertain. This doesn't mean you don't have emotions. It doesn't mean you don't care deeply. It means you've learned to process your emotions internally rather than making them everyone else's responsibility. When you have emotional gravity, when you're solid in your own emotional world, something powerful happens in your relationships. Instead of two people trying to figure things out together, you become the rock that she can lean on. Instead of both of you being reactive, you become the stability that allows her to relax. And that stability, that emotional strength, that ability to remain centered no matter what's happening around you, that becomes incredibly attractive. Because most people are emotionally reactive. Most people get pulled into drama, triggered by conflicts, destabilized by uncertainty. But the man who can stay calm in the storm, who can think clearly under pressure, who can remain loving even when things get difficult, that man stands out. He becomes her emotional home base, the place she returns to when the world feels too much, the energy she seeks when she needs to feel grounded again. And once you become that for someone, once you become their emotional anchor, they don't want to let you go. But here's the key. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't feel things. It's about processing your emotions in healthy ways so they don't control your behavior or destabilize your relationships. It's about being so secure in yourself that you can hold space for other people's emotions without being consumed by them. It's about being so grounded in your own worth that you don't need external validation to feel okay. When you develop this kind of emotional gravity, you don't need to chase connection. Connection comes to you. You don't need to work for attraction. You become naturally attractive. You don't need to convince anyone to love you. Love flows toward you naturally because you become the kind of person that others want to be around, the kind of energy that feels good to be near, the kind of presence that makes life feel easier and more peaceful and more joyful. Here's something most dating advice gets completely wrong. They focus on tactics, what to say, when to text back, how to act, which moves to make. They treat attraction like a chess game where if you just learn the right strategy, you'll win. But attraction isn't a game to be won, it's an energy to be embodied. All those tactics, all those techniques, all those scripts and strategies, they might work in the short term, but they always fail in the long term. Because you can't fake who you are forever. Eventually your real self shows up, and if that self isn't attractive, all the tactics in the world won't save you. This is why some men can follow all the dating advice perfectly and still struggle with relationships. They're focused on the wrong level. They're trying to learn what to do instead of becoming who to be. Real attraction happens when you stop obsessing over tactics and start focusing on transformation. When you stop trying to figure out what women want and start becoming the kind of man they naturally want to be around. The man who's worked on himself, who's developed emotional intelligence, who's built a life he's proud of, who's learned to love himself so he doesn't need others to do it for him. That man doesn't need pickup lines because his authentic conversation is interesting. He doesn't need to play hard to get because he genuinely has other priorities. He doesn't need to pretend to be confident because he actually is confident. When you become that man, when you embody the qualities that are naturally attractive, you don't have to think about what to do anymore. You just are who you are, and that's enough. Because attraction isn't about performance, it's about presence. It's not about what you do. It's about who you are when everything else goes quiet. The man who's done the inner work, who's faced his insecurities, who's built his self-worth from the inside out. That man has a natural magnetism that can't be taught or faked or learned from a YouTube video. He's comfortable in his own skin. He's at peace with his imperfections. He's excited about his life. He's kind without being weak. He's strong without being aggressive. He's confident without being arrogant. And that combination of qualities, that wholeness, that authenticity, that genuine self-love, is irresistible. Not because it's calculated or strategic, but because it's real. And in a world full of people wearing masks and playing games and trying to be someone they're not, authenticity stands out like a lighthouse in the darkness. So let me ask you something. Are you the man who needs love to feel complete, or the one who builds something worth loving? Are you the man who chases validation from others, or the one who validates himself? Are you the man who needs a relationship to feel whole, or the one who's already whole and looking for someone to share that wholeness with? Because that difference, that fundamental difference in how you approach yourself and your life and your relationships, determines everything. The man who needs love is always chasing it, always seeking it, always worried about losing it, always compromising himself to keep it, always anxious that it might disappear. But the man who builds something worth loving, he attracts love naturally. He receives it gracefully. He enjoys it fully. He shares it generously. He holds it lightly. He knows that love is not something he needs to complete himself. It's something he gets to share with someone who enhances an already beautiful life. And that knowing, that deep understanding of his own worth and completeness, radiates out of him in everything he does. It shows up in how he walks, how he talks, how he treats people, how he handles challenges, how he pursues his goals. It becomes part of his energy, his presence, his essence. And that energy is what women fall in love with. Not your words, not your actions, not your gifts, or your gestures, or your grand romantic displays. Your energy, your presence, your essence. The man you are when no one's watching. The strength you carry when life gets difficult. The peace you embody when everything around you is chaos. That's what real attraction is built on. That's what lasting love connects to. That's what makes a woman look at you and think, this is the one, this is the man I want to build a life with. Because she's not just attracted to what you can do for her. She's attracted to who you are when you're not trying to do anything at all. She's attracted to your authenticity, your groundedness, your wholeness, your ability to be completely yourself without apology or pretense. She's attracted to the fact that you don't need her to feel complete, but you choose her because she adds beauty to an already beautiful life. She's attracted to your emotional stability, your ability to stay calm when she can't, your capacity to hold space for her feelings without being destroyed by them. She's attracted to your purpose, your mission, your passion for something bigger than just the relationship, your excitement about your own growth and development. She's attracted to your boundaries, your self-respect, your unwillingness to compromise your values for anyone's approval. She's attracted to your leadership, not the kind that controls, but the kind that inspires, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that elevates. She's attracted to your presence, your ability to be fully here, fully engaged, fully alive in every moment. And all of these qualities, all of this natural magnetism, comes from one source, your relationship with yourself. When you love yourself, you don't need others to love you. When you respect yourself, you don't accept disrespect from others. When you're happy with yourself, you don't need others to make you happy. And that independence, that wholeness, that self-sufficiency, it's incredibly attractive because it's rare, Most people are walking around looking for someone else to complete them, to validate them, to make them feel worthy and lovable and enough. But you've done that work yourself. You've become your own source of validation. You've learned to love yourself so fully that anything else is just a bonus. And that's the secret that changes everything. That's the shift that transforms you from someone who chases love to someone who attracts it naturally. When you stop needing love and start embodying it, when you stop seeking validation and start generating it, when you stop trying to be chosen and start being worth choosing, that's when everything changes. That's when you become the calm, the center, the anchor, the man that women naturally gravitate toward, not because of what you can give them, but because of who you are when you're not giving them anything at all. You become the man who attracts love, not through effort or strategy or manipulation, but through the simple power of being authentically, completely, unapologetically yourself. And that version of you, that grounded, centered, whole version of you, doesn't need dating advice, doesn't need pickup lines, doesn't need tactics or techniques or strategies, because that version of you is the strategy. That version of you is the attraction. That version of you is what every woman is looking for, even if she doesn't know it yet. The man who's done the work, who's faced his demons, who's built his confidence from the inside out, who's learned to love himself so he can love others freely. The man who has something beautiful to offer because he's built something beautiful within himself. The man who doesn't need love to feel complete, but offers love from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. That man doesn't have to chase anyone. That man gets chosen. That man gets loved. That man gets to experience the kind of deep, meaningful, lasting connection that most people only dream about. Because he's not trying to get love, he's giving it. He's not trying to take from others. He's adding to their lives. He's not trying to fill a void within himself. He's sharing his fullness with someone who appreciates it. And that's the difference between men who struggle with attraction and men who embody it naturally. It's not about what you know, it's about who you are. It's not about what you do, it's about what you radiate. It's not about how hard you try, it's about how authentically you show up. When you get this right, when you do the inner work necessary to become genuinely attractive from the inside out, you don't have to worry about tactics anymore. You don't have to overthink every interaction. You don't have to wonder if she likes you or analyze every text message or stress about making the right moves. Because you become someone who's naturally likable, someone who's genuinely enjoyable to be around, someone who adds value to every interaction not because you're trying to, but because that's who you are. You become the kind of man who makes women feel better about themselves just by being in your presence. The kind of man who brings out the best in others. The kind of man who creates the kind of energy that people want to be around. And that energy, that presence, that way of being in the world, it's magnetic in a way that no technique or strategy could ever be. Because it's real, it's authentic, it's sustainable. It's not something you have to remember to do or perform or maintain. It's just who you are. And when someone falls in love with who you really are, when they're attracted to your authentic self rather than some persona you've created, that love is unshakable. Because they're not in love with your performance. They're in love with your essence. They're not attracted to what you can do for them. They're attracted to who you are when you're not doing anything at all. They're not connected to your best behavior. They're connected to your truest self. And that kind of connection, that soul-level attraction, that deep recognition of genuine compatibility, that's what real love is built on. Not need, not desperation, not performance, not strategy, but authenticity, wholeness, self-love, the courage to be completely yourself, and the wisdom to know that being yourself is always enough. So here's my challenge to you. Stop trying to learn what to do and start focusing on who to become. Stop obsessing over tactics and start working on transformation. Stop trying to get love and start learning to give it. Stop seeking validation from others and start building it within yourself. Stop chasing women and start becoming the kind of man they naturally want to chase. Because that man, that grounded, centered, whole, authentic version of you, is already inside you. He's just waiting for you to do the work necessary to let him emerge. He's waiting for you to face your fears, heal your wounds, build your confidence, develop your emotional intelligence, create your purpose, establish your boundaries, and learn to love yourself completely. He's waiting for you to stop trying to be someone else and start being who you were meant to be all along. And when you find him, when you become him, when you embody that version of yourself fully and authentically, you won't need another dating video. You won't need more advice. You won't need better strategies. Because you'll be the strategy. You'll be the attraction. You'll be the kind of man that women naturally fall in love with. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Not because of how hard you try, but because of how effortlessly you show up. Not because you need their love, but because you have so much love within yourself that sharing it feels natural and joyful and abundant. That's the man every woman is looking for. That's the energy every woman wants to be around. That's the presence every woman hopes to find. And if you're ready to become that man, if you're ready to do the work, if you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting, if you're ready to transform yourself from the inside out so that love flows to you naturally, rather than something you have to work for desperately, then you know what you need to do. The work isn't easy. It requires honesty, courage, commitment, and patience. It requires facing parts of yourself you might not want to face and changing patterns you've been comfortable with for years. But it's the most important work you'll ever do. Because it's not just about attracting women. It's about becoming the kind of man you're proud to be. It's about building a life you love. It's about developing the kind of character and presence and energy that makes every area of your life better. It's about becoming whole, complete, authentic, real. And when you do that work, when you become that man, you don't just attract better relationships. You attract better everything, better friendships, better opportunities, better experiences, better life. Because people are drawn to authenticity, they're attracted to wholeness. They respect self-love. They admire genuine confidence. And when you embody those qualities, when you live from that place of inner strength and peace and joy, you become magnetic in every area of your life. You become the kind of person others want to be around, work with, learn from, and love. You become the calm in the storm, the light in the darkness, the anchor in the chaos. You become the man who doesn't need love to feel complete, but attracts it naturally because of who he is when everything else goes quiet. And that man, that version of you, is worth every bit of effort it takes to find him.